Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sasha Renee Perez, the Public Affairs Manager for the Campaign for College Opportunity, and I'd like to welcome you all to our final lunch break of our summer series. We are so proud and excited for 2021 Lunch Break Series guest, California Student Aid Commissioner, Angel Rodriguez. Angel Rodriguez was appointed to the California Student Aid Commission by Governor Newsom in March 2021. Angel, a son of immigrants from Mexico City, has served as Senior Director of Marketing, Public Affairs, and Government Relations at the San Bernardino Community College District since 2016. Angel, like many Californians, understands the life-changing power of student financial aid. He was midway through completing his degree at the University of California, Riverside, when his family lost their home and small business at the height of the Great Recession. With the help of Cal Grants, a part-time job in retail, and what little his family could afford, Angel got to the finish line and became the first in his family to graduate from college. Since then, Angel has dedicated his career to easing the pathway to higher education for students and has completed his master's degree in higher education administration and policy from UC Riverside. At the San Bernardino Community College District, Angel negotiated an MOU with the Mexican consulate in San Bernardino to establish a year-round help desk inside the consulate to assist families with the FAFSA and California DREAM Act application. He also managed public outreach to win 63% voter support for a $470 million local bond measure to fix, modernize, and build college classrooms, STEM labs, and career training facilities. From 2014 to 2016, Angel was Associate Director of State and Regional Government and Community Relations for his alma mater, UC Riverside, where he conducted state budget advocacy to prevent UC system tuition increases. In 2012, Angel served as Strategic Communications Specialist for an initiative by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, National League of Cities, and City of Riverside's Mayor's Office to boost a college completion among low-income young adults. From 2008 to 2012, Angel held multiple positions at the Greater Riverside Chambers of Commerce, managing business, education partnerships, community development, and workforce development advocacy. In addition to his higher education work, Angel is a member of the Civil Rights Institute of Inland Southern California Board of Directors. Angel lives with his husband, Jesse, in Riverside. Angel, we are so thrilled to have you. Welcome.
Thank you, Sasha. Really appreciate the opportunity and love the campaign. So really great to be here with you.
Yeah, we are so excited to have you here with us. Before we get started, we want to see who is with us in the Zoom room today. We have a quick survey for folks. If you all can take a moment to let us know what your role is in the higher education world and what region you're from. Each question will be up for about 30 seconds. So you should go ahead and see it on the screen now for you to go ahead and complete. All right, we'll give it a couple more seconds, then we'll go ahead and close out the poll and look at the results. Great, so it looks like we have a lot of higher education advocates on the line, as well as some students, some college faculty, and some policymakers. And we have a pretty even split with folks from across the state. Lots of folks from the Bay Area and Los Angeles, as well as the Inland Empire, Central and Northern California. Very, very cool. Well, thank you all for participating. And as a reminder, we invite folks to pose questions in the Q&A. We'll have some time to ask those questions later on in our program. Well, Angel, welcome. We're so excited to chat with you today. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and also what you're eating for lunch today?
Sure. Well, thanks again. And I had some egg bites from Starbucks. It's like my go-to when I run and don't have time to cook. Um, but just a little bit about me. I think you mentioned a little bit about my background, and one of the reasons why I love higher ed is because that's kind of what saved me and my family. As I mentioned in my bio, that we were in the middle of the Great Recession, and so many families, and mine included, lost their home, and my parents lost their business. And during that time, I was still in the middle of college. I was the oldest of two younger brothers. And so I felt like the responsibility and the burden of being a good example to them and kind of help them along their way. We're all 5 years apart. So, they were in high school and the other one in middle school. And so when the economy just crashed, I think for us, we were just trying to pick up the pieces of, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to bounce back? And so thanks to, Cal Grants and financial aid, I would not have been able to finish my degree at UCR. And this was around 2008. And I just reflect on that now, because I think even with the pandemic, I see so many students, so many families who probably are on the same boat, where they are, they were in college and then they had to stop, whether they moved to remote classes or they just completely dropped out from their experience to take care of family or of their own health. I'm just thinking, these are the kind of students that we need to help. And it really comes down to the generation that's going to come after us. We can't lose them. We need to make sure that they have access to higher ed. We need to make sure that they can afford college, career training, 4-year, you name it. But I think there's just a big level of responsibility that I think at the California Student Aid Commission, including the Campaign for College Opportunity, all of us have to make sure that we're helping these students. And we just can't, even if we're behind our laptops or working from home, we need to do everything we can to help students afford college and then get to the finish line.
Beautiful. I couldn't agree more with, what you shared. I think, for those that are watching who are maybe unfamiliar with the California Student Aid Commission and what exactly a commissioner does, can you tell us a little bit about your role and some of your responsibilities?
Sure. Before I go into that, my day job is at the San Bernardino College District, and I do marketing, government relations for them. And so I'm just thankful to them for giving me the opportunity to do what I love. And also, I really have to give a big shout out to Governor Newsom for appointing me to this position and allowing me the opportunity to serve my state. The California Student Aid Commission, were the largest statewide agency that finances, helps students get their financial aid. We have 15 board members, commissioners who are appointed by the governor, by Assembly Speaker, by the Senate. We have student representatives, and we meet bi-monthly, and we talk about how do we make it easier for students to get financial aid? What policies do we need to advocate? What sort of red tape do we have to eliminate? And so whenever there's financial aid officers at the colleges, universities, and they think about, okay, I'm helping this individual student, we're at the commission listening to the feedback that we get from those financial aid officers about these are the areas that they're struggling with. This is what the state could do or change to allow us to do our job a little bit better and easier. And so we're always looking into ways of streamlining that sort of process. And so very proud of the work that we're doing. I just started in March. I know that there's more work and more that I need to learn, but I also have to give a lot of credit to a lot of advocates who have come before me, who have put us in this great position where right now, today, we're talking about Cal Grant reform and making the pathway to financial aid easier for working adult learners. Now, it doesn't matter, whether they graduated from high school 2-3 years ago or 50 years ago, or it doesn't matter their age. Now, adult workers can access a Cal Grant thanks to all the work that the student advocates have done throughout the state.
Beautiful. And, Angel, I think it's so important to have someone like yourself, in this role that really understands the impact and the power of financial aid. I think you've touched upon a little bit of it, but what about the commission's role really inspired you to apply to the seat, especially maybe given the timing? Was there anything maybe going on at the time that really inspired you to take on this role?
Yeah, really personally, I think the pandemic has been, I think it has touched all of us. I mean, everyone around the world. That in itself, when you're thinking about wanting to make a difference, and I think we all get into higher ed or working around this sort of work because we want to make a difference in people's lives. And I think for me, the turning point of where I said, okay, I'm not doing enough, where I felt like I thought I was busy and my calendar's full and my to-do list is big, but I still don't feel like I'm doing enough. I felt that during the murder of George Floyd. And I thought about what was happening in that video. And I thought about how can we let something like that happen? How can people be okay with something like that? And okay, I wasn't there, and it's miles apart, but I think the level of responsibility that I felt when I saw that, I felt so small and so powerless, but also with the responsibility of, okay, what am I going to do from where I sit to make sure that public institutions and the one that I work for in higher ed, that we are not okay with something like that from happening again. And, we talk about access to higher education, we talk about financial aid, but I think for me, the level of responsibility that I felt at that moment was I need to do something more. And so I had just finished a leadership training with Equality California. And a lot of it was, okay, how can we get more people, diverse people, LGBTQ people at the decision-making table? And so, at the end of the workshop of the Leadership Academy, they encouraged us to serve on state boards and commissions to bring more diversity into state government, into decision-making. And so for me, once I saw the list, I said, okay, what can I do? What skill sets do I have that could benefit my community, my state? And luckily enough, there was an opening with the California Student Aid Commission. It's a commission, obviously, that I have a lot of respect for. And so when I saw that there was an opening, I thought, okay, well, maybe this could work out. Maybe I have something to add to this board. And I encourage all of you, if you have not seen the latest openings to serve on a state board and commission, please do, because we need more people in the state to really help us with decision making. And so for me, I thought, okay, what do I bring to the table? One, I am a first generation. I come from the Inland Empire, and I think that's something that I think is very important. And I really think Governor Newsom, that he recognizes the importance of diversity, not just cultural, racial, but also the geographic diversity, and making sure that the decisions that we make at the Student Aid Commission don't just serve or benefit the students who live by the coast, but also serves the students who live inland California, like in Riverside or San Bernardino counties. Different demographics, different economies, different levels of upward mobility. It's one big state, but we have a lot of little differences that still happen. And so bringing in that lens, I think for me was something that really attracted me to serve. And like I said earlier, I mean, with the pandemic, maybe it's me being the oldest brother of two, that I feel the responsibility again of helping younger people than I along in their path to go to college.
Absolutely. And, I think definitely your background, Angel, makes you incredibly qualified to step into this position, especially coming from the Inland Empire, making sure that we have that kind of valuable representation, on the California Student Aid Commission. And, that kind of leads me to my next question. As a newly appointed commissioner, what issues are you hoping to champion when it comes to financial aid access, especially given, your background coming from the IE? Is there anything that's really standing out to you as kind of a number one issue?
Great point. I think there's a lot of work that we need to do to help students go to college. And I just don't mean four-year universities. I also mean community colleges, career training, any sort of education beyond high school. I think that is, everyone's priority who works in higher ed. for me, given the opportunity to serve on this commission, I'm looking at, okay, what are we doing and how are we communicating to the students? Maybe because my background is in communications, marketing, I really think about, how can we make things a little bit easier for people to understand, especially when our students come from humble beginnings, especially when a lot of our students are English second language learners, they're low income. So if you were to give them a letter saying, this is your financial aid award, this is how much the state is going to give you to Apport College, are they going to understand that letter? Or are they going to be intimidated when they open up a letter from the state and it looks like a letter from the DMV and you're like, oh my God, I did something wrong, or is this good news, bad news? We need to be a little bit more compassionate of how we're communicating to our students and their families. Do these letters, do our websites, do our message out, does it sound robotic and institutional? Or does it sound friendly, helpful, and humane? I was recently at a training with our board of trustees and our chancellor's cabinet, and we had a facilitator who was guiding us through a conversation about setting up our college for the next 10 years. And the first question that he asked us was, who was your favorite teacher? And the room is silent, and I was thinking, who was my favorite teacher? And he says, was it the teacher that had this amazing lesson plan that you just love their lesson plan? And everyone's like, no, so I think about that. Our favorite teacher, we came to find out, was the one that showed us that they cared. The one that we felt that special connection, that teacher kind of, took us by their hand and made us feel special, made us feel like they cared. And so whenever I think about even my role at the commission, or when I think about my role at the college district, I think about, that favorite teacher and what can I do to emulate those qualities that I love from that one teacher. So, for everyone here listening, I would say, it doesn't matter if you're a teacher or not. We can all be like the teacher that we like the most. And so I think that's a kind of, I think part of what we need to do a little bit more in, government, in public institutions. We are dealing with people, and we just need to be compassionate when we communicate, because if something is not understandable, like a financial aid form, like FAFSA, people will not access it. They don't understand it, they're not going to access it. And we can say, well, it's on the website, go read the website. But if it's not easy to understand, people can't take action, and they can't tap into the resources that they need to, get financial aid in this case.
Angel, I absolutely love that takeaway. Be like your favorite teacher. I think that's something that we can all, agree to and remind ourselves of, is to be, compassionate and kind. Amazing. I just want to remind folks too, and remind our audience, if you have any questions for Angel, please submit them in the Q&A, and do that by 12:30 so we can go ahead and sort through them. I have another question for you, Angel, and this is related to the Cal Grant program that's received some pretty significant upgrades in this year's budget. We were super excited to see the expanded eligibility, especially for community college students, and I'm sure you were as well. Can you explain the changes to this financial aid program and also why they're so important?
Yeah, no, well, definitely, like I said, this is, if you have not been engaged in advocacy for higher ed, I think this is definitely the time to do it. Cal Grant reform, and I know the campaign has been very vocal, very supportive of Cal Grant reform, and many others across the state. What is happening right now, the governor and the legislature, they just approved historic investments to make it a little bit.
Oh, Angel, I think you just muted yourself.
Oh, that's what happens, right? Sorry. So what's happening, like I said earlier, if my point wasn't clear before, was that the governor and the legislature just approved the state budget. And in that state budget, there's historic investments to widen the net of Cal Grant for more people. Today, 133,000 more adult learners can access a Cal Grant. These are 133,000 students who otherwise would not have been able to go to college, get career training, and we're talking about community college. So we're talking about those people who may have gone laid off, or for whatever reason are unemployed today, and now they need new skills. Well, how can we bring them back? And we tell them, well, get retraining. But if there's no money and there's no help for them to do it, then they're going to say, well, I'd rather not go to school. I'll put food on the table, but I won't go to school. But now we're saying, no, we're going to help you pay for it. And that's, I think, that the biggest thing now, that we can say that it doesn't matter if you were, 60 years old or 45. Before that, that used to be a barrier, your age and your time out of high school. Those two things were removed from the Cal Grant. And there's a lot of work to do. As you know, Sasha, AB 1456, that's a bill that Assemblymember Jose Medina of Riverside and Assemblymember Kevin McCarty of Sacramento and Senator Connie Leyva of San Bernardino, they've been pushing and leading the charge to make more changes to our financial aid system, again, to make it more equitable for Californians. One of the things that we're pushing for at the Student Aid Commission is exactly for that bill, 1456, AB 1456, which in essence simplifies Cal Grant. And right now we have different buckets, Cal Grant A, B, C, and it's so cumbersome, again, for people to understand which one do I qualify for. If I'm a community college student, do I qualify for the same financial aid as a four-year university student? So what we're saying is that with this bill, we would create two buckets, Cal Grant 2 and then the Cal Grant 4. And so 2-year, Cal Grant for 2-year or colleges and then Cal Grant 4 for 4-year. And I think that's brilliant. I won't take credit for coming up with that concept. There was a working group that came together and put together the bones of that proposal. But I think it's brilliant because it's so easy for someone to say, if I'm going to a 2-year, Cal Grant 2. If I'm going to 4-year, it's Cal Grant 4. Not only that, there's so many other changes, but in essence, we're talking about just widening the net. And that's something that we're all looking forward to doing a little bit more. And hopefully we get it done sooner than later.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Angel. 1456 was about to be my next question for you. So love that you brought it up. For those that are watching, AB 1456 is one of the Campaign for College Opportunity sponsored legislation. We've been working on this very closely with the California Student Aid Commission. And really it is part of the reason why it's so great and important to have leaders like Angel that are a part of the commission that really understand why it is so important to make more students eligible for this kind of aid, especially at the community college level. Angel, what other opportunities do you see California can do to ensure more students can afford college?
Wow, there's a lot. One that I'm already excited about is one by, it's a bill by Assemblymember Eloise Reyes, Majority Leader Reyes. And I call it's like FAFSA and California Dream Act for All. And so what this means is that if you are graduating from high school in California as a student, you will be asked to fill out the FAFSA or the California Dream Act before you graduate. I mean, such a game changer, so simple, makes sense. We should have been doing this way before, but now with this state budget, we're able to do it. And the governor signed the bill and the legislature, they passed this bill. And it's going to take a little bit, for us to get to a point where all of our schools encourage their students to get there. I believe that there's going to be a 1-year implementation phase, but I think that's definitely one thing that we are doing that I think is going to just be a game changer for students. Because imagine so many students after high school, they don't have a plan. They have so many options at their disposal, but they're forced to think, okay, now you're an adult, you're 18, go figure it out. But we're saying, no, figure it out. But there's going to be financial assistance to help you navigate whether you want to go to school, whether you want to go to college, career training, or maybe you don't. But at the very least, as plan B, you have completed your FAFSA. You've already completed your California Dream Act already. So you have money in your pocket that you can access so that you can go to school and get a college degree or career training. And so we're not leaving our students hanging when they graduate from high school. Like I said, this whole notion of that we're in it together. We're telling our students, okay, go out into the world, succeed, and we'll help you. I think with this bill and when we see more FAFSA completions, I think that's going to be great. The other thing too, I think one of the best kept secrets that the California Student Aid Commission has is that we have 16 regional consortia in different areas across the state, and they're called CalSO. And these are basically, they convene K-12, higher ed, and they are basically a supplement to guidance counselors. They have student success coaches that go out and meet with individual students, host Cash for College workshops, big events, pre-pandemic, big events in person, but now, we do it via Zoom, but they also offer one-on-one help. I think it's going to be so critical that these CalSOPs, these regional consortia across the state, that they work with their communities. So as they implement this FAFSA for all, California Dream Act for all initiative. So I think we're leveraging the local partnerships, but also the state. And I think so many students are now going to have financial aid just by the simple virtue that they were asked to do it while they were in high school.
Amazing. And we are definitely big fans of Assemblymember Reyes and, that legislation. So I'm hoping to see that come to fruition, mandatory completion of the FAFSA and the CATA, so more students can know what aid is available to them. Angel, beyond California, what more do you think the federal government can do to expand financial aid, reduce debt, and support graduates in trying to manage their debt?
Well, there's a lot. And obviously I'm sure there's a lot of people with different ideas, always, open to learning new things about what people think we can change that. But one thing that I can say that the California Student Aid Commission is doing with regards to student loan debt, last year in the state budget, we were approved to create a working group that is basically analyzing the debt levels of students across California. And right now we know that more than half a million Californians are delinquent or are in default with their student loans. And right now that total debt is about 14 million more or less. And so we need to 14 billion, B with a B. And we just need to make sure that we also have a way of helping these students. They can't buy a home, they can't support the economy, they can't buy a car, they can't get on with their life because they're tied to their student debt. So that's one thing that I'm excited that we're working on the California Student Commission with this working group. In September of this year, you're going to see a full report with recommendations as far as what the state can do to alleviate some of that burden. But as far as the federal government, I know that there's a big push to double the Pell Grant. And I'm sure everyone here on this call knows what the Pell Grant is. It's the federal government's way of helping low-income students. What we're saying is double the Pell Grant because it has not kept up with inflation. Right now, students at the maximum can get about $6,500 during their Pell Grant, but we're saying double it. And when you double it, let's say students were to get $13,000 for living expenses, cost of going to college, transportation, food. Not only are you addressing the basic needs of students, so many students who are homeless or couch surfing, you're also eliminating the credit card debt. You're also eliminating student loan debt that students who were not able to, because of lack of financial aid, they had to pull out private sources of funding. And now if we say, look, we will provide you with this funding, then we're not going to add on to the student loan debt that we see across the nation. So double the Pell Grant is what I say.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. I know many of our student advocates that are likely on the line. Totally agree with you. Many of them have been advocating for doubling the Pell over the years, and I know there's a big push right now. So kudos to them for continuing to lead on that work. Angel, there's obviously so much to do within this space of financial aid. There is no shortage of work. What would feel like success to you at the end of your term?
That's a big question. I think if the commission can be the golden model for how we communicate to students, again, simplify the messaging. I'm a big proponent for not calling the California Dream Act CATA. That's one of the things that I'm like, students use California Dream Act as that's what they understand. But if we start using words like CATA or any other acronym, eliminate those. We're creating artificial barriers that don't take any money to change if we were only to change the way that we speak about these programs. I think that would look like success. If people could stop saying CATA, I will be satisfied. It's California Dream Act.
I will note that for myself and remind myself to use the.
No, it's contagious because in higher ed, we have so many different words that we use. And so it's definitely shorthand, but no, I don't, not a criticism, just an observation of what I've seen and really how our words impact students and their ability to access financial aid. That's what I mean. Making it simple, making it easier to understand. I think that would be a win.
Absolutely, absolutely. Making sure those communications are tight, especially for students. So before we move to audience questions, we want to do a really quick lightning round with you. So I'm going to go ahead and start off. I'll give it kind of either or, and you let me know what comes to mind first for you. So first one is coffee or tea?
Ooh, coffee, but I will say coffee like my grandma used to make it, cinnamon and lots of sugar. Café de olla.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's in your Netflix queue right now?
I love comedy, and whenever I want to unplug, it's my guilty pleasure. I watch trash TV, so really nothing that I'm proud of. But guilty pleasure, Golden Girls, Schitt's Creek, and we just finished watching Ozark, which we love. And right now, I'm waiting for the next season of Selling Sunset. So if you love drama and real estate, that's for you, and also The Crown. So that's what's on my.
Big Selling Sunset fan. So we have members of our team who are as well. So we have a whole fan base at the campaign. Very cool.
So good.
Next one is an important one.
Okay.
Dodgers or the Giants?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was born in LA, so obviously Dodgers.
Great. Very cool. That was the right answer. We also have Dodgers fans at the campaign as well. What's your go-to snack?
I think my favorite snack, it used to be frozen yogurt, but with the pandemic, I couldn't go to my local frozen yogurt shop. So it turned into frozen grapes. I always buy grapes, put them in the freezer, and then I snack on it during the day.
Nice. Favorite holiday?
Favorite holiday? Who could say no to Christmas for family? But I think right now, as I'm getting older, I love the 4th of July holiday because it's a kickoff to summer. It happens to be around the week of my wedding anniversary, and that's when we go on vacation, go to the beach. So those two, I think it takes a cake.
I love that. What's your most used emoji?
That's funny. The one that I love is a zany looking one with the eyes and the tongue sticking out. It's you're having a good conversation if you use that one. So at least for me.
What is your ideal vacation destination?
Oh my gosh. I will say this. So my husband and I always go to Palm Springs. And so we're there every weekend. I will say that has to be my number one vacation spot because it's just so easy to get there. Love the mid-century architecture, obviously, and it's a great place to be. But also can't say no to the beach. One of my favorite beaches is Acapulco. So love going to Acapulco.
Ooh, nice. I love it. Something that's summer tropical.
Yeah.
Best quarantine survival tip.
Wow. I think for me it was listening to podcasts. I think when in the middle of the pandemic, it was just fun to listen to something other than the news. So podcasts, I love Conan Needs a Friend, and also Hidden Brain on NPR, Armchair Expert, always fun to listen to.
I'll have to check that out on Armchair Expert. I haven't heard of that one.
It's great.
The last book you read.
Last book, well, I just finished my master's, so there was a lot of academic reading that I didn't do for fun. But the one book that I just finished reading was a friend let me borrow it. It was Becoming by Michelle Obama.
Oh, nice.
I'm a little bit late on that one, but she said you have to read it. So I said, all right, let me give it a try. Great book.
Most common thought before you go to sleep.
I would have to say gratitude. I think about the people I love. I think about what I want to accomplish the next day. And also to not forget to charge my phone because otherwise my alarm won't go off. So that's what I think about.
Same here. I totally feel that 100%.
Right.
Excellent. All right. Well, now we're going to move on to questions from our audience. So we have a couple of questions that are in the chat right now. One related to AB 2015 from Jackie Navarez. She says, do you know how AB 2015 will be measured? How will districts verify meeting this requirement?
Great question. I wish I had those details. Would love to follow up with that question because I don't want to misspeak here, but great point. Thank you.
Excellent. So we will follow up on some of that information. The next question that we have is from Carolyn Siegfried. What will be CSAC's role in ensuring that the requirement to complete financial aid forms, such as the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act application in high school, is effectively implemented in high schools?
Yeah, no, and I think that's the key to what I was talking about earlier about the CalSOAP consortias. There's 16 different consortias. They are an arm of the Student Aid Commission at the local level. And really their job is to convene schools, higher ed, students, families. And when we talk about Cash for College workshops, I think that's the one spot where students can get their answers or their questions answered about filling out the FAFSA, filling out the California DREAM Act. I think one of the other exciting things at the federal level, as you well know, Sasha, is the FAFSA simplification. And so rather than seeing 108 questions on the FAFSA, that's going to be pared down to 36, which is great news for all of our students because now they don't have to go through the big intimidating application. Now it's going to be so simple. And so even though that gets simplified, there's still that a lot of our families and students don't know about FAFSA. So with the CalSOAPs and us working in partnership with the schools, I think we can get that information across to students. I'll make a plug too that if you were to visit the CSAC website, there's a new chatbot that we have put on the corner of the page, and that is available 24/7 with frequently asked questions that people across the state. It's improving, so the more questions you ask, the more answers we'll put in. And so I also want to offer that up as a resource that if you ever have a question, if any family members of yours have questions about filling out the FAFSA or any sort of on financial aid opportunities, go to the website, use that chatbot. It's on the corner, right-hand side, very helpful. And we also have a call center that is always answering people's questions. So to answer that question, we will be here to support our local high schools so that they know how to navigate. And we know that it's going to be a new requirement. And we just also don't want to we want to make sure that they have all the support that they need.
Excellent. Good tips for the students watching. Utilize the chat box or utilize the call line. There is help available. So we have a couple other questions coming through. One is really focused on your role. You mentioned that you come from the IE, from the Inland Empire. How are the college opportunity challenges facing the Inland Empire different from other places in the state?
Yeah, well, I think, the Inland Empire is, I will say, we have colleges and universities. A lot of great people are coming from the Inland Empire. And I say that not self-servingly because that's a place where I call home. But if we talk about these reforms that we had just outlined, Cal Grant reform, or we're talking about FAFSA for all, these initiatives are coming from the Inland Empire. These state policies are rising up from the Inland Empire. And I think that is just a testament to the fact that people recognize that there's a problem and we all want to be part of the solution. We have leaders, advocates, students who know that, okay, we need to have more students with an opportunity to go to college. They need financial aid. Job opportunities in the Inland Empire or Inland California may not be the same as what they are along coastal California. So we need to work twice as hard to make sure that these students have opportunities that other students have. And so I think we're kind of like the story of the underdog. We know that there's a lot to do and it's okay. It makes us work harder. So I think that's what I'm passionate about. And I think, again, there's challenges, but we have the right ingredients to make a difference.
love that. I love the idea of the inland empires, the underdog rising. I love that. Another question that we have here is, what do you think of a portable Cal Grant for students to four-year universities who don't find a spot at the UC or the CSU? This is something important to Black students, in particular, looking to go to an HBCU out of state since one doesn't currently exist in California.
Yeah, I've heard of that proposal. I'm not too sure about the details of what that would mean. I think it warrants a bigger conversation with my colleagues on the commission. But anything that we can do to help students afford college, I think we should be on that side of the conversation.
Absolutely. Well, Angel, I want to thank you so much for your time today. It was so great chatting with you, and we're looking forward to all of the ongoing work that you will be doing for California students. And I also want to give a very big thank you to our audience for joining us today and for being so engaged. Thank you for joining us for our summer lunch break series, and we are looking forward to our 2022 series. So stay posted as we release the timeline and some of the speakers for that. But have a good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us.